We knew that he'd be out at least for 6. There was thoughts that he'd be gone for a year. The fact that he only got 11 games as a suspension to me means it's not highly unlikely, but just unlikely that the Browns pull the trigger on Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, there's two sides to this. One, there's the way we're processing it with regard to someone we respect in Jimmy Garoppolo and how an 11-game suspension might affect any discussions involving him. And then there's the other side to it, which is just our humanity. I'm looking at quotes coming down from Deshaun Watson right now. He's meeting with the media in Cleveland, and this is gross. This is really, really gross.
Give me a taste of it.
Quote.
Is it to the level of, sorry for anyone who I may have offended?
It's worse.
Worse. Oh, God.
Because he apologized before the preseason game on Friday so that he could go out and play. Now you get this announcement. We just read the prepared statement that was released where he said, basically, he's sorry for all of the pain that the situation caused, not the pain that he caused. So he is maintaining his complete and total innocence, which, okay. So now he's being asked repeatedly by Browns reporters and those on the scene, why are you accepting a settlement and why are you apologizing if you are still claiming complete innocence? Listen to this quote. I've always been able to stand on my innocence and always said I never assaulted or disrespected anyone, but at the same point, I have to continue to push forward with my life and career. For everybody that was affected by this situation, there were a lot of people that were triggered.
Triggered, yeah. Triggered by the fact that you intentionally, dragged your anatomy and forced the masseuses to touch you in places that they probably didn't want to touch you. And I don't know how much of the details you've actually read, Mark, or people out there have read, but it's worse than you think when you look at the alleged actions that he, foisted upon these female masseuses. It's beyond disgusting. And for him to, quote, I stand on my innocence. No, you don't. Because you continually apologize and you have accepted an 11-game suspension. And, by the way, you have settled out of court with, 23 of 24 purported victims. That is not standing on your innocence. What that is you trying to turn the page. And I don't begrudge him for trying to turn the page because he's right. He has to go out and live his life. He's 25 years old. He has a long life ahead of him. But to say things in this fashion, to, quote, stand on his innocence, it definitely is a little bit disgusting.
Yeah, I just, gosh. I mean, you're right. We've known a lot of people. This is a familiar story when at a certain point, especially when you have that much money, you're like, look, I'm going to pay this situation just to go away. I get that. I understand that. In a way, the NFL just did that. They could have gone to court. They had every single backing they needed to suspend him for a year. But court is hard, and it's frustrating, and it's expensive, and it's unknown.
And it's high profile.
So if you can avoid that, you do. But this is just, it's uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable because, as I said, the position that this puts us in as fans is very, very hard. It's like we get the guilt trip for still wanting to buy tickets and still wanting to have fantasy football teams and still wanting to watch every Sunday. I don't want to give that up. We love this. No, I'm never going to buy a Deshaun Watson jersey. No, I'm not going to put him on my fantasy team. I don't want to do that. But by the same token, why should we have to give up our fandom simply because the league handles it a certain way and individuals handle it even worse? Here, if I'm Deshaun's people, here's one word, because the Browns have now done it, and now Deshaun did it. Moratorium on the word triggered. Stop it.
It triggers you.
It's actually, that's what's triggering us. is you using the word triggered.
And basically the way he's using it, he's saying that it's your fault that this is affecting you.
Like you have something in your patterning that's made. This is what triggered is. This is a huge word that we all use now in mental health and everything. Oh, you're triggered, which is sort of mean there's something in your past that's making you get upset about something you probably shouldn't actually be upset about. I'm sorry. Look,
it becomes a you problem when you're triggered.
Thank you.
I'm not offending you. You're triggered.
I mean, look.
That's what it basically is.
The truth of the matter is none of us who were not there, we're never going to actually know everything that took place in every one of these situations. So I'm not trying to be on a soapbox. I'm not trying to be high and mighty. I think there's plenty of room for nuance in each individual situation. And the bottom line is, I don't know what happened. A judge can say all they want. This is what happened. Okay, that's what we think might have happened. I'm pretty sure that whatever was going on was unsavory at a minimum. And for us to be uncomfortable with that, Deshaun, does not mean we're triggered. That's not what that means. That means we're human. And it is completely okay to be uncomfortable at a minimum and disgusted at a maximum with this situation and the fact that you have an NFL team that simply threw millions of guaranteed dollars at it. And then in the end, it came down to two sides negotiating,
right,
as opposed to ever thinking, what's right here? What's the right thing to do? And what's the right thing to do for those victims who were affected?
Well, what's the right thing to do with all of these cases in a sports league? And if you take this out into the private sector and you have somebody for a company that is not an NFL team that we all watch and is a multi-billion-dollar organization and all the rest of it, things are handled differently. But because this is sports, it's high profile, he's the face of an organization, it's a different sort of calculus. And, I would like to see some of the reporters ask him about what is alleged to have happened. And that way we can, really get his responses as it pertains to the things that he's alleged to have done. Because it would have been a lot easier for him to put much of this to bed by owning up to it a little bit more and just saying, what I did, I apologize for. I apologize to the victims, to the alleged victims. I'm working on being better. I'm going to counseling as a part of this settlement. I hope to be back in December in week 12, and I'm going to go out there and try and win as the Browns quarterback. But instead, this just makes it worse. The sad part about this, though, Mark, is the news cycle is such, and like you're saying, your phone already is blowing up with fantasy football trade talk. So we're outraged today. We're going to be bothered tomorrow. This goes on the back burner until December when he gets back on the field, and at that point, it'll percolate back up until the opening kickoff, and then we'll all forget about it again.